Ice-T, Body Count, Icon. Since we're on the subject of icons, legendaries. Since we're on that topic, we might as well bring up this next man. We celebrating the 20th anniversary of his album, Emotional, which really, in my opinion, I was having this conversation with my man, Rich Nice.
Oh, wow.
You know who that is. And we were talking about the year that this album came out and what this album meant, how this album helped to reinvigorate where the status of where R&B was at that time.
Right.
He had a song called I Wish from this album that I know personally because at that time, being on the West Coast as well, programming on 92.3 The Beat and 106 and KMEL. You see where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
We were two of the biggest platforms in the country to really embrace that song. So this man spent a lot of time on the West Coast at these radio stations.
Absolutely.
Doing all of these tour dates.
KMEL,
making making all this money.
Okay.
And that was Sway and Tech in the background, making sure that they make sure you put this shit in rotation.
That was lining it up.
We would line it up
Okay.
because that particular year, Jill Scott had an album came out, Joe had an album that came out,
That's
D'Angelo had an album came out.
It was tough
That's
times,
Music
boy.
Soul Child album came out.
It was tough.
Erica Badu had an album that came out.
That's right.
And at that time, R&B couldn't have been at a better place.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And part of that reason was because of this man's sultry voice. And the other thing that a lot of folks may not have realized is that back then you were getting placed with songwriters and producers, and they were finding songs to fit you. But in this case, this man had a pen game as well that went along with that voice, that went along with that presentation, and he gave guys like me a good chance because he didn't overdo it. He wasn't overdoing it. He was somewhere in the middle. He was somewhere in the middle and into the top, where that's kind of where I lived. And so ladies start looking at us. We ain't light skinned.
You know what,
You're
Sway?
right.
We didn't have curly hair.
You're right.
Breezy
You're
curly hair. Welcome him to the show to celebrate the 20th anniversary of his debut album release of Emotional, the one and only Carl Thomas.
Yes.
Carl Thomas.
What up, y'all?
Carl
What up,
Thomas.
family?
All right.
How you been, Carl?
Man, I'm great. Great.
20.
Did you ever think you'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary of anything in this business?
Well, I hoped I would.
Yeah.
You know, I've definitely seen them come, seen them go. I've seen more go.
Yeah.
Actually.
Then come, right?
Yeah. It's a real interesting group to be a part of. Anybody that, if you know anybody that's ever sold over 1 million records of anything. The demographic of that.
Wow, yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
That was smooth.
No, I'm just saying.
That was smooth.
I'll use myself as an
No,
example.
I'm just saying, like the group is so small. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But only 1% of all music put out ever reaches 1 million, let alone 1 million plus, 2 million, and so on. You know what I mean? So it's a real interesting fraternity. You know what I mean? I just did Clive Davis's Grammy party.
Okay.
And where they, gave Puff the award. He gave him the Clive Davis, Legend Award, and that was real cool. We put on a little mini concert and whatnot, but we took this class photo for the Hollywood Reporter. And while I'm fans, you got everybody, Wyclef Jean, Khalid, and Cyndi Lauper, and Beck, Janet Jackson, Miguel, and, all these different people, and I'm fans of everybody, but bro.
Yeah.
I was in a picture with Joni Mitchell. Yo. Out of everybody.
Joni
Mitchell. And
wow.
she's at the age right now to where, she can walk, but, she chooses not to, like Maya Angelou at times. She rode in with a Louis Vuitton wheelchair.
Oh, my.
What? She had to, what the
I
hell
didn't
is
even
that?
know that existed.
A Louis Vuitton wheelchair.
Let me
What's the
Google
logo
image
at?
that.
And all I could say was, boy, you're rich.
So emotional. Look, it's 20th anniversary. That's a Louis Vuitton. I can't. I'm talking over that. I don't know why I can't even stop to think about that shit. A Louis Vuitton wheelchair.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard of such a
that's
thing?
Crazy.
special.
Can you give me? This was such a exciting time. Like anything Puff touched back then, like it was just he had the Midas touch. You know, what was the atmosphere being in and around Bad Boy? He described you as the Marvin Gaye of Bad Boy at one point.
Yeah, it was really it was a situation that I feel like it was tailor made for me because it was really competitive, and you know I just kind of took everything as competition at that time. You know what I mean? My attitude, you know, performing on shows with different artists is, I love you. Coming to get you.
Yeah. Everybody was like that.
But back then, that's really, you know, how I felt. And if you've ever been to Daddy's house at that time, there was constant energy and coming out of every room. You go, you know what I mean, to the left in the A room, and you know, Big was finishing something in there. You go to the little room in the middle, which we call the MIDI room. And you got a bunch of guys in there doing things. And you go to Studio B on your right, and you had Stevie J in there just, you know, bang, 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 bang. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at that time, everybody wanted to be around that energy, that competitive energy, and they was going for each other's throats. I mean, you know, we in the same crew and everything, but I need to get my record.
Yeah. Because if you got your record, that became a domino effect. If you get the right record, you're going to get on the right tour. You're going to get the right interviews. You're going to get the right brand sponsorships, so on and so forth. And at that time, what made you want to, were you already writing or what?
Thanks to Troy Taylor and Charles Farrar, the characters at the time. We were, I was signed to their production company before Bad Boy. Bad Boy is not my first record deal. It's actually my third. But it was the one that spawned fruit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It was the one that spawned fruit, you know what I mean? So I knew what it was like to be dropped from a label and to get that pink slip, you know what I mean? We are no longer in need of your services, thank you.
That's how they put it. They always put a thank you at the end too.
Like, but they let us keep the advance money, so that was cool.
Yeah, how much was the advance money back then?
Back then, nothing.
Like what's nothing to
nothing,
you? I mean,
nothing
you
to
selling
me.
millions, dog.
10 grand, whatever, nothing.
Yeah, they were getting
you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, but I never really took it that serious. I didn't really respect money at the time, or know how to respect it. So you know, I would go to work at Roy Rogers Chicken at the time, downtown Brooklyn. You know what I mean? While I was recording, I actually recorded with a group called The Formula on Epic.
I remember The Formula.
Yeah, on Epic, and we did our entire project in the Village. You know what I mean? So we hung out. We recorded a little bit, and then hung out and talked to girls. Went to Washington Square Park. You know what I mean? And just, it was a real fun time. Just to be a budding artist, you know. I really became prevalent, I would say, just doing hooks for a lot of different hip hop artists.
Like
at
cool,
the time.
Heavy D or
well, what's crazy about this Heavy D? But my first, I would say, my break as a hip hop hook guy would have to be "The World Is Filled with Pimps and Hoes" on Biggie's album.
That was you on that?
Yeah. That was actually a poem I wrote in high school. You know, during study hall. You know?
That's what you was doing during study hall.
Yeah, I wasn't doing no homework.
Let's hear that a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's hear this. Carl Thomas is here. 20th anniversary
we'll just
of
talk
Emotional.
about those I know.
Go with it, baby.
You
Come
know
on.
what I mean? Yeah.
The world is filled
Yeah.
with pimps and hoes.
I'm telling you.
We'll just talk about those I know.
Yeah. Too Short loves to tell this story
The world is
of recording this
mine,
record. You know what I mean?
You know I'm from Oakland. so
Yeah,
I
he
love
loves.
it.
If you've been in front of Short and have him, you know, tell you one of his Biggie stories, this is the story that he tells.
Yeah. What happened?
what I mean?
What part about it? That
He just said, you know, that he came in, the hook was already down on it. He really didn't have anything. And Big laid his verse down, you know, Puff laid his verse down. He still didn't have anything. And he said maybe like about 5 minutes before, you know, it just came to him. I had a whole lot of in my lifetime. You know what I mean? And it was just like everything clicked like Legos at that time. You know what I mean? Like how I got on the Been Around the World remix was it was really strange because I just busted up in the studio while they were at lunch, and the record was being mixed.
Wow.
The record was literally being mixed. You know what I mean?
And Puff, everybody was at lunch?
Yeah, they was at lunch, and D-Dot was there. You know what I mean?
Shout out to D-Dot.
Yeah, shout out Derek Angeletti. And they were, you know, just actually putting the finishing touches on it. And it didn't even have my part on it. And I just went in the studio, you know. I just went in the studio and just did that part. You know what I mean? And I didn't even really know what happened. I did that little part and then I left. You know what I mean? About a week later, you know, Puff called me up and was like, yo, we're going to LA to do a video. Pack your stuff.
Just like that.
Just like that.
How wild was it?
And it was, you know.
And you just, and the video was crazy. That was one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really the fun factor that kept everything going for me. You know what I mean? We you know, especially, you know, rebounding. You know, it was at a time when Bad Boy was on the rebound, you know, from Big's death. And we really didn't know what was going to happen. Really didn't. It was real dark for a minute. Yeah. You know. And
was it scary to go out and perform to you, or did you lose?
No, the weirdest thing about that situation is I was always at Can-Am Studios in LA. I was always there because I'm friends with Daz and Corrupt. Yeah. You know what I mean? Through my brother, Emmanuel Dean, rest in peace. And I was always in there, and my homeboy would always be like, yo, don't let Suge know you sing.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Big Red Records. Shit, Carl
let Suge
hanging
know
over
you
the
sing.
cliff. Office hours from 9 to 5, Sway. That's why you don't want to know to sing.
But it was a kind of a thick time. Like,
Yeah.
you could read about it in the magazines. You could hear people talk about it. But unless you was in...
It was really dangerous.
It was dangerous.
It was
back
dangerous,
then.
and people really don't really understand that. They talk about it. Yeah, this East Coast, West Coast thing. But
that shit was dangerous.
But it was really just the energy. It was dangerous energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me tell you how dangerous it was. We would... I think it got to a point where me and Tech were the only ones putting Puff and Big on air. Because we had the biggest station in the Bay. Yeah. And we had the biggest station in LA.
Right.
I was like, man, y'all tripping.
Right.
We gonna put y'all tripping. This is some fucking magazine shit. Ain't no East Coast West Coast. I didn't believe in the East Coast West Coast thing.
I mean, I would say that they definitely made the most money.
Yeah, the media.
Yeah,
the media.
They made the most money.
Yeah.
The artist died, and the media
still going
profited. Wow. You know,
still reliving that shit.
Still reliving it. Yeah.
And then so emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
You know what's funny about that album?
Yeah.
Was if you really listen to it, I was really an angry young dude at the time. I was really angry. And you listen to songs like I Wish and You Ain't Right and things like that.
Let's start with I Wish.
Like I found a pretty way, you know what I mean, or a beautiful way to complain. Yeah. You know what I mean? To complain, you know, and it was a lot of me complaining on that album. And you know the dynamic between men and women is so like, you know, like if a guy cheats, you know, y'all need closure for 2 years. You know what I mean? But if she cheats, it'll be 2 months later, and she'd be like, I thought you said you forgive me. I'm tired of hearing about this shit.
But we don't. But that's what made this special, though.
Yeah,
because you were speaking from a place that we hadn't really heard.
I had no idea that other dudes actually went through that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Wish that they saw the exit sign first. Shouts out Mike City.
Mike City,
you know, man, absolutely.
That's who he produced that, right?
Yeah, Mike City produced the writer. This record, I could say it was much bigger than me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I spent a long time chasing I Wish.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because the record was released when we were in Europe doing the second leg of the No Way Out tour, which is the European tour, you know. And the record had already taken off. And what really worked for me is that there was a air of mystery because I wasn't available for interviews. The press was pressing the label, and I was in Europe as a background singer with Puff, you know what I mean? So the press was reaching like, okay, how can we sit down with this guy? And I remember flying back. To the States. At that time, Clive Davis was retiring, and they had a big gala for him in Los Angeles. You remember that?
I was there.
Yeah. They had a big gala for him in Los Angeles. I was flying back. I had to fly back into L.A. And I remember landing and walking through the airport, and I was wondering, like, wow, why is everybody looking at me? Like, what's going on right now, you know? And I just remember riding down Sunset Boulevard, actually La Cienega, and seeing these orange and black Carl Thomas posters all up and down. You know, Bad Boy Street Team was like a virus.
That was the first street team of its kind.
Like a virus.
Yeah, that was like the
like
corona.
an infectious disease.
Coronavirus.
Like, you know what I mean?
It was spreading.
Oh, you mean that corona?
Yeah, they had, because Bad Boy, they had megaphones, picket signs.
You're right.
Everything. They were sniping all the cities.
Yeah, everything was a campaign.
Yeah.
Everything was a campaign. If we're releasing Faith, if we're releasing The Lox, Black Rob, everything was a campaign for us to get that first look over other artists. So when the DJs would go through their vinyl, you know what I mean? A lot of times our records were listened to first. You know what I'm saying?
Well, y'all did other things too.
We did other things too.
Carl Thomas is
we
here.
We did other things too.
We're going to come back. I want to open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. Play that. I Wish became such a mega smash.
Yeah.
And I can see why you said when we started adding ads on radio stations back then, to get an ad was the biggest thing you can do.
Right.
And when we started adding that song, and you became an international star. You became a national star, then an international star. All of a sudden.
I went to Japan. And it was really weird. At one point, I was literally the number 2 import artist in the country of Japan behind Mariah Carey. That was really weird because they spoke no English at all. But knew every word, every line, and their vernacular was like perfect English.
They
know?
They probably learned to speak English through your music. Let me play I Wish, and I'm going to open up these phone lines. Come on, y'all know what we doing right here. 20th anniversary of the Emotional album.
Screen those calls. Screen those calls.
Come on. That might be one of the most beautiful songs ever.
Absolutely.
One of the most beautiful songs,
Recorded at Electric Lady.
One of the most iconic studios ever.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of callers. Carl Thomas is here. April 18th marks the 20th anniversary of his debut album, Emotional. And go buy it again. Go buy it again.
We're doing a special limited edition re-release, right? For the 20th?
Just some singles, just the singles.
Oh, okay.
You know, man, just the singles. It's fun for me to see. I'm just like literally passing out acapellas to producers like Frisbees. You know what I mean? I get a chance to hear, you know, what the younger generation, how they interpret it. You know, putting their tracks over my acapellas, and you know what I'm saying.
That's smart.
So it's just, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my email.
So we gonna do some beats.
That is smart, especially because
find out.
Shit.
You see a lot of artists who are, taking from the past a little bit and doing remixes with Torey Lanez doing that with Ashanti, Summer Walker doing that with Usher.
Yeah, my son ran in the house one day with his cell phone. And he said, Dad, you got to listen to this. And it was Juice WRLD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rest in peace.
Redid Emotional.
Yeah.
In his own,
the Shape of My Heart sample.
His own facet.
Right,
yeah, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And that was just really, you know what I mean? That was really surreal. It's like a lot of times you don't really know how they look at you.
Yeah.
You don't really pay attention to it, Thank God, I have a 20-year-old son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shouts out David.
Hey, what up, David?
But David keeps me cool. You know what I mean? He keeps me one of the cool kids.
Yo, man, I get that. My daughter, 21. You remember?
So I miss a lot, and now because of him, I kind of live my life on YouTube, just staying abreast on, what's a thing about it is that they talk about the state of R&B a lot.
They do,
Yeah. I don't know why they're even remotely interested, in my opinion.
Why would you say that?
But I mean, because it's always gonna be. I mean, it's just like the universal law of polarity. It's always gonna be trash, and there's always gonna be golden music out there. I think that people get confused because corporate America actually makes you search for it now, but it's there. You know what I mean? Like you check out what cats like Ro James is doing.
Talk about it.
You know what I mean?
Talk about it. Yeah.
Like cat. I mean, it's
Daniel
there.
Caesar,
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Frank Ocean. I was caught up on
just
him.
Look at it.
Yeah.
These cats are really, really putting it down, authentically, and there will always be a place for authenticity in music. The further they go, you'll start to see them implement instrumentation into their production. So everything is a circle. Everything. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to see them come back to square one.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. Like I love you heard of the group The Internet?
Of course. We've had Sid up here, the entire squad.
I love that group. You know what I mean? Just like you starting to see it like,
What you love about The Internet?
They come off like a bunch of kids who had a mom like me.
You
know what I mean? That would sit behind you. My mom would sit behind me at piano lessons and guitar lessons with a belt over her shoulder.
Wow.
Like literally.
Yeah.
And she would ask my teacher, like, yo, how'd he do today? Oh, he did pretty good.
Yeah.
And we was project kids, so we didn't have money to squander like that. So she was like, I don't want to hear good. I want to hear excellent.
Yes.
Oh man.
Damn. Good ain't good enough.
Yeah. So
so they remind you of that. I'm gonna jump subjects as while you're talking.
Yeah.
My First Love, this is not off the same album. It's off the Talk About It album.
Let's Talk About It. That's right.
Let's Talk About It album.
Just Blaze.
Just Blaze.
Yep.
What year was that done?
2004.
Okay, early on, Just Blaze.
2004.
Yeah. And how did that happen? Were y'all signed to each other?
Nah. I was just a fan of his production, and I just kept begging Harv Pierre, he was the president of Bad Boy at the time. I just kept Harv, I gotta have a Just Blaze beat. Harv, I gotta have a, And then one day, I go to the studio and, I just hear this boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? That song was actually written, I think it was, by Jack Knight and my man Shannon. You know what I mean? Shouts out to Jack Knight. You know what I mean? And it was just, it was a perfect fit. Cause I like short girls with big booties.
Okay, that's still your thing.
I mean, I've evolved.
You've evolved.
I've evolved.
Okay, let's listen to that for a quick second. It's a little Just Blaze.
Yeah.
Back in high school, I knew a girl like you. She was heaven sent. All the time we spent, you kinda look like her. I remember the way we were, 'cause we were all in love. I'm feeling you because you're 5'2", brown eyes. I don't know what to say. You made me feel that way. It seems like I'm dreaming.
Yeah. Sway the Morning, Carl Thomas, 845. I like that, man. We doing radio right now. Watch this. You hear them drums?
Oh.
See,
Just Blaze.
Just Blaze.
That's crazy.
Same drums, same mix on the drum. Come on, man.
He got paid. He got paid a bunch of times for the same drum pattern.
Work smarter.
You knew where I was going with that.
Yeah, he got paid a bunch of times
for that same. That was his
same
signature.
drum pattern. You
Wow.
know?
That was his signature. Keith from Boston on the line. What up, Keith? What you want to say?
Hey, Keith.
What's up, Sway?
What up, bro?
Yeah, I'm just saying that I was down at Foxwoods on Friday night for that concert. You know, they had a lineup on there, and out of the 4 people that was listed, Carl Thomas was the only one that that came right, and it was what was advertised at.
Whoa.
He's the only one that gave me my money's worth.
Wow.
Came advertised that.
I mean, I didn't really get a chance to see anybody else's show. I watched Rotimi. I watched his show.
Rotimi, dope.
Yeah. Shouts out. He's really a dope artist.
Yeah.
But after that, it was what I call wine time.
Wine time. Ooh.
It's wine time.
Wine time. Wine time. Okay.
Wine time. Specifically Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Today's National Drink Wine Day, too.
Wine.
Perfect.
Kelly waving her hand and hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I really didn't. But the show ran really late. I was actually back at the hotel by the time the show ended. Man.
Your Carl's off the chain. He's been doing this long. He knows what to do.
It's just backstage is nowhere to hang out.
Not anymore, but backstage when you was doing that, what was it? No Way Out tour. What was that like?
Well, No Way Out was weird. You know what I mean? It was weird.
I love these
because
stories.
I was a background singer on that tour, and I would just I was the one that Puff always had to go, don't do that. Hey, because I'm, you know what I mean? I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I'm trying to bubble.
Yeah.
You know?
So what would Puff tell you not to do?
I'm back there. It's crazy. Myself, Kiana Henson, Kelly Price.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were back there, bringing that harmony for whatever they needed, you know, while I was recording my record. Okay. So it was really weird. I got a chance to see where I would be, and I understood when I got out there why Puff wanted me out there.
Yeah,
he wanted me to see, he wanted me to see myself in that position. You know what I'm saying?
You know the irony about the Puff stories, and you hear about him as a visionary, and you think it's this authoritative older person. But everybody was around just a couple of years.
We were looking at him like we were just a bunch of young kids.
Yeah. Looking
at Puff like, yo, please make us a star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We seen him do it for Mary and Jodeci, and it was like, hey,
When you hear these stories, like Mase wrote the story about not obtaining his publishing and not being sold as publishing. And then you hear a lot of stories about people who went through Bad Boy and different labels, not just Bad Boy, who never felt like they never got paid. They just do. Right. Do you have that kind of story? What was your experience like?
I don't really have that kind of story. Puff is the type of person that, he's different to everybody. He's a different Puff to every artist, you know what I mean? And me, I never had a problem with getting paid on time. You know what I mean? My problems were, hey, he would always say, just try this record, just try it, just try it. And if I didn't like it, I put up a fight, And it was, so my problems were more creative. I didn't really have, business problems. I actually got a really good deal from Bad Boy, and that was because I had been in a couple of bad ones.
And
if you ever want to, to all the artists out there, I'm gonna just tell you, if you ever want to get a good record deal, be in a bad one.
Really?
You'll know everything you ain't getting.
Wow. I've never heard that, man. That's game.
Be in a bad one.
And you'll know everything you're not getting.
You'll know everything.
You originally from Detroit?
No, I'm originally from Aurora, Illinois, right outside Chicago.
Right outside
So
Chicago.
I really tried to make my way in Chicago first.
Okay.
But that just really didn't work out for me. I I really didn't have a youth, a normal youth. You know, I left home when I was 16. You know,
okay. Why was it bad or you?
No, it was just you know, there was a lot of unnecessary death going on around us, and you know, it was like so to the point that where we made funerals a social event. Like we know it was gonna be some good food at the repast. Oh shit! Even though we didn't like the dude that passed away. Oh. There'd be some females there that we could cry in front of.
Oh my God! That's where emotional. I get it now. That's how.
Damn you, Roger! Damn you, Roger!
That was the prelim to emotional.
Look, we look. It was I'm telling. It was ridiculous.
Yo.
Like, we literally made me and my friends literally made a social event out of going to funerals. It was like,
wow.
Yeah,
that sounds bad. Even
that was like how we, like we just to normalize something like that was ridiculous. Yeah. But I saw a lot of bad things happening to innocent cats like myself. Anybody that knows me knows I was only interested in singing and talking to girls, and I was never involved in any gang banging activity or nothing like that. And you know, but that is just what we were bred. You know, it was either you was a vice lord or you was a black gangster disciple or a BGD. BGD, whatever, you know. Or either you ran with the Latin Kings, you know. And that's what it was at that time in that environment. And I just got to a point to where, you know, I had a friend, Troy Taylor, producer extraordinaire. He introduced Trey Songz to the world. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Troy. I know Troy.
Yeah. You know, and Troy and I knew each other from church. You know
Where's
what I
Troy
mean?
from?
Like, Troy is from New Haven, Connecticut.
New Haven, Connecticut? Okay.
Yeah, from New Haven. And we actually met each other, like, at the youth conventions, like, you know, what have you. And he was somebody that I knew that was just close to the fire. You know what I mean? And so we would be on the phone every day. You know, I think his big intro was writing for Color Me Bad. You know what I mean?
I want to sex
writing
you up.
Yeah, those guys. You know what I mean? And
just saying that to Carl Thomas might be a little weird.
Yeah, those guys.
Yo, I'm sorry,
those
Carl.
Guys.
I shouldn't have been looking at you and I repeated that.
Those guys. Yeah, those guys.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Yo, hold up, man. What? Yo, hold up. We got to get back to this. Okay. Look, Carl, I got to invite you back, man.
Yeah.
Okay, because Lord Sear about that. He's outside squeezing his knees trying to get up in here.
Nah, I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm a big fan. You know what I mean?
You know Lord Sear?
Out of God. You know what I mean? I listen to, you got to understand, I listen every morning.
Oh, no, you a citizen of Sway?
Yeah, I listen every morning. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like
a citizen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
I have to turn on Sear because I just gotta see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's hilarious.
What homeless prostitute he had. I mean, but I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, what homeless prostitute.
The God is real. He reaches for those of us who may seem to be undesirable by society at times. I really appreciate that.
About Lord
The God is real. I'm telling you.
The chain, man.
Nah, but I want to say thank you to some folks.
Absolutely.
Puff Daddy, you know what I mean? You know, I'm really happy for everything that's going on with him right now. Puff has really grown a lot.
Absolutely.
In these past few years. I know you can tell by looking at his Instagram posts.
I love it.
And what have you. You know what I mean? Like he's really in touch with his spirituality. You know what I mean, at this point in his life, and just trying, you know what I mean, just trying. That situation, you know, with him and Mase, they're brothers when it comes down to it, you know what I mean, and you know, it'll work itself out. That's a 20-year conversation.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. It'll work. Yeah. Hey, Carl, thank you for coming by, man.
Thank you, man.
What we want to end with? What song? Summer Rain or Emotional? Emotional. Everybody want to do Emotional.
Okay. We can do that.
April 18th marks the 20th anniversary of his debut album. You got more Emotional, more music coming?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For all the dog lovers out there, I'm doing a 6-song EP right now that's all about the relationship between people and their dogs.
What? Wait.
Yeah, and then absolutely.
I gotta
and then there's the traditional. You can expect the traditional Carl Thomas project actually this summer. So look for that. I'm actually going first week in March out to LA to finish that project. Man. So be looking for your boy.
And then come back up and let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
All right, because we got way more stories to tell, man. Carl Thomas.